Hello and welcome back to the East Lake Pet Talk podcast. We are here live at Squash Blossom Studios. I'm Dr. Karen Fling, and I'm joined with my co-host here.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Will McCauley. Welcome back to the show, and today we have a special guest on with us.
We do indeed, Sarah Wood. Sarah, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you here because for anybody that doesn't already know you, Sarah Wood is a volunteer at East Lake Pet Orphanage, and we asked Sarah to join us today because she was our #1 volunteer this last month.
That's right.
And actually contributed over 43 hours of volunteer work to support the homeless pets of the Dallas area, and
The
specifically
top dog this month.
Yeah, boy, she's my top dog, that's for sure. And Sarah, I was shocked to see how many hours you logged, and I know I always see you around just as a regular fixture around East Lake, but to me, besides being our #1 volunteer this month, I think you have kind of a special story to tell. And what is it about volunteering that's special for you, or why did you decide to volunteer? How did that happen?
Well, I volunteered in other places. I volunteered at Baylor Hospital in the Arboretum, but what I found is that you can give to an organization, but if it doesn't feed your spirit, you almost don't have something to give them, even if you're there. And so when I came to East Lake, at first I thought, well, I might be sad about seeing animals in cages, and I might take them all home, and that might be a problem. So I had some hesitations. But once I got there, I felt so rewarded by the little relationships that you develop with those animals that it totally fed me. And
that is so great. That makes me feel so great, because I think the #1 thing that I hear from people that are looking at volunteering to help pets is that, oh gosh, I could never go into a shelter, or I could never work with pets one-on-one because I would want to take them all home, or it would be too hard for me to see losses or experience an attachment and then be separated from a pet, once they either get adopted or, God forbid, if something medically happens where they don't make it through.
Right. And I had those trepidations, but I have just been so blessed by my volunteering. As you know, I've struggled with cancer in the last year, and getting up and going to East Lake is like the highlight of my day.
That is so great. And I think that's amazing as a cancer survivor and somebody who's been through a lot medically, personally. I think it'd be really easy for you to just say, gosh, it's too hard for me to do these other things, and yet here you are, our #1 volunteer.
Well, that makes me feel so good. And I'm just kind of, I've learned that going there boosts my energy, and I need that. So it's helping me as well as helping the animals. And I also need to lose weight. So walking 3 miles helps. So it's kind of I don't know if symbiotic would be the word, but it's nurturing me as much as it's nurturing them.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I think that's a great point, because not only is it exercise for the pets, it's exercise for you, and it's probably really helping you be stronger. And I was really personally surprised to hear you say that volunteering gave you more energy. That's amazing.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
And I think for people who know other people who struggle with depression or low energy, that maybe, they could discover that it's not going to drain them.
Right.
It might take them going to find that out. But if working with animals is for them, it won't drain them. And so to me, that was something that I think people might want to know if you know anyone who struggles, with getting up and getting going.
Well, I think that's so well put. So what a great way to get energy and helping the pets all at the same time.
Yeah, like you said, it does give back to not only the clinic and the animals, but it does help you. And I like how you said, that symbiotic relationship. It's kind of, it's not just giving all this time and energy out and not getting anything back. Those internal intrinsic rewards really do go a long way. And I know that East Lake really values the effort that you and volunteers like you put forward.
So well put. We really thank you. And best treatment, there you have it, as Sarah says, for depression, for having more energy. It'll allow you to have that. And even the American Heart Association, as we're in February and in National Heart Awareness Month, it's good for your heart too. And having a pet and spending time with a pet, either on a volunteer basis or as having a pet as part of your family, definitely helps your heart and your blood pressure. So many positive benefits. And Sarah, we thank you, and you're just the spokesperson for volunteerism.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. We appreciate having Sarah here. And if you'd like to learn more about volunteering opportunities, you can call 214-342-3100. And we work with any ages from adults on down to children. And in fact, we've got a great reading program for kids we'll talk more about pretty soon. But lots of opportunities, whether you're a child or an adult. And we're willing to work with you on whatever you can contribute. And one of the neat things that we did this weekend was actually a project where we did the Painting Paws Art for Awareness project. And this was a group of great people, talented individuals. And we're going to take a break here and let Sarah get back to her dog walking. But we'll be back with more in just a minute to talk about that exciting new project. Okay, this is the Painted Paws project, and this is what it was all about this weekend. And this was the brainchild of Connie Pyatt of Sky Helicopters, and she and Ames Meyer and Declan Miller McGee were a part of the Sky Helicopter team photographing this incredible event with lots of dogs and cats making art, painting, having a great time.
It's a great, very kind of one-off thing. You don't hear about that much about these kind of art festivals for dogs.
Right. Well, a lot of talent this weekend. And besides the dogs and cats that were the featured artists that are the pets of East Lake Pet Orphanage needing homes, we also had a lot of talent from the folks at the marketing arm led by Chris Smith. And it was amazing working with these people. There were people that were their in-house counsel. So we had attorneys there. We had celebrity endorsement representatives. We had art directors, photographers, just an amazing crew of talented people putting their talents together to help homeless pets get adopted. And of course, we had our own Roderick Pena there, and he was a huge part of the organization in this project. And he and Chris worked together to kind of develop the flow, and just a great time for all. A lot of paint everywhere, and everybody went home with paint head to toe.
But happy to do so, right?
Happy to
be
do
painted.
so, and the pets had a blast too. So playing ball, romping, and creating art, a great time by all was had. And then we're looking forward to late April, actually a Painting Paws gala event to showcase the art, and we're going to have a party.
Very cool. I was going to ask, when we're going to get to display all this cool art.
Yes, late April, and we'll give a save the date probably this next week, and we're looking to firm up that date. But it should be a fun time to be had by all. And
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, and indeed, our homeless pets will have lots to benefit from, and we're hoping to actually feature some of the pets that were the artists at the event this weekend that have been with us an awfully long time. We have some that have been with us, even close to 2 years.
Yep.
And so as a no-kill shelter, we remain committed to helping these pets until they find the right match, their forever home. And we always say, if it's not a match for you, it's not a match for them. So
yep, exactly.
Want to make the best love connections.
I think so. Well, once we do make those connections, we always say that it's important to have proper identification and microchipping of your pet. And actually, you had a cool story, cool situation this weekend.
Another big event this weekend, and that was reuniting Zorro with his family. Zorro is a lovely little black and white cat that, ironically, was part of East Lake Pet Orphanage, had been adopted, and something happened, and this cat managed to sneak out and get out. And so this family has just been torn up looking for this cat. And it's funny how things happen and how closely connected all of us are sometimes. And one of our board of advisors, Susan Bell, actually had sent an email out to me yesterday morning and said, hey, in case you see this black and white cat is lost. And then it turns out that this is Zorro that was part of the orphanage. And so we pieced that together and figured that out. My kids overheard me talking about it. And then late last night, my kids heard a meow up in a tree in our backyard. At my house. How does this happen that this cat actually comes to an orphanage representative?
And it was Zorro?
And it was Zorro up in that tree. And so I think our dogs probably kind of chased him up there, and he was seeking...
Helped with the relocation process.
Yes, exactly.
Make sure it didn't get too far.
Exactly. So once we corralled them and got them separated, next thing we knew, Zorro was at our back door meowing and going, I don't belong out here.
I recognize
Something
you.
terrible has has happened?
Give me back to my people.
Help me. Yes. And so what was really great is Zorro's family did have a collar and tags on in addition to the microchip that he had as well. We didn't wind up needing to use microchip, but the collar and tags, let us know that, yeah, this is Zorro, this is his family. And so we were immediately in touch with the family, or almost immediately, because they were out driving the neighborhood. I think they've been looking for a week straight. So it was really cool to get that cat back so quickly. And it really proves that a collar and tags does work, microchipping does work, and also, especially where cats are concerned, really reaching out within your community, within your neighborhood, because cats, unlike dogs, tend to stay a little bit closer to home. They tend not to venture out and run for miles like dogs will do sometimes. So, getting that neighborhood connectivity out there as soon as possible is a good thing. And, certainly if you lose a cat, pet detectives have a better chance at finding your cat if you call them early.
The more people you get involved, the better. And, we've said multiple times on this podcast that I think it's 1 in 3 pets will be lost at some point in their time. And if they don't have identification on, 90% of them aren't going to be
true statistics.
Connected back with their owners.
Yeah, so. And I read this weekend, in fact, that between 14 and 15% of all pets get lost every year. So, that's over 10%, cresting to 20%. So that says pretty likely that close to 1 in 5 pets is going to get lost this year alone.
To you and your pets. So follow the instructions. Get your vet involved with tags and microchips. And as we said, if you do end up losing your pet, the more people you contact and the sooner you contact them, the better chance you have of finding your dog or your cat.
The better. Absolutely. So great reunion story, and we're so happy it worked out well for Zorro and his family. And talking about cats sneaking out, I actually kind of sat down this last week and called the invisible fence people, because as I've mentioned before, our own cat, John, is a sneaker. He darts between your legs. He runs out. And
That's one that waits for the door to be opened. And
he does. He'll hide out under a chair in this little music room we have right by the front door. And he hides out there. He knows our getting ready behavior when we're getting ready to leave the house, and he'll dart out when we least expect it. So I'm going to pull the trigger and actually get the collar set up and the barrier protection that invisible fence offers. So I'm hoping to be able to share that with everybody watching.
Yeah, that'd be very neat to see.
We'll see how that works, because it's just too much of a risk, especially where cats are concerned or small dogs, that if they are getting out and roaming free like that, there's coyotes, there's owls, as we've talked about, and cars.
The biggest killer of cars.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We look forward to seeing that, getting some footage of it and seeing that on a future podcast. That'll be great.
Yeah, so hopefully that'll be pretty soon. And another thing we talked about last week was a little bit about nutrition. There's been a lot in the news about pet food recalls and food production safety issues and things like that. So I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about label reading. And so we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have a few bags of pet food to look at and kind of show our viewers just what to look for when they're making a pet food selection.
Back in a sec.
Okay, well, we're back with our food bags all laid out here, and we just have kind of a random sampling of foods here. And this particular one has something on it that I really like. Besides having an American flag, it says Made in USA. And I love seeing that, because I like to know where the origin of my food ingredients are in my foods. And there is a big trend toward putting American flags on pet food packaging, but a flag doesn't necessarily say Made in USA.
Come from South America, it can come from China, it can come from the moon.
It can come from anywhere. So truly seeing a Made in the USA is a good thing. And also knowing, as this product guarantees the origin of the ingredients, I like to know that. And even seeing a labeling that says distributed by, and then it lists someplace in the United States. A distributor in the United States doesn't say the same thing as Made in the USA. So that's one of the first things I like to look for, like this packaging has. But then the other thing I like to look for is to know if the pet food that I'm feeding fits the life stage of the pet I'm caring for. So do we have an adult pet, a senior pet, a very young pet, those sorts of age age ranges can make a big difference in nutrition. And look for the AFCO statement, because I noticed on this particular package, while it says it's for adults, when you look at the AFCO statement, the AAFCO statement that's in fine print, it says right down here, for all life stages. And by definition, what that means is that this particular food has to meet the growing or the nutritional requirements for a growing puppy or kitten.
Yeah, which some people think that, it has plenty of protein, plenty of fat, plenty of vitamins, but in reality, it can have an excess of those, which can be just as bad as having it's not having enough.
Right.
The AAFCO is the Association of American Feed Control Officials, and they're the ones who, I guess, vet these production processes and the quality of this food to see if it is designed for a certain life stage. You wouldn't want your senior-aged pet to be getting a puppy formulated food because it may be too high in fat, it may be too high in calcium, too high in protein, and all those
phosphorus.
Things. And phosphorus, and all those can cause problems if it's present in excessive amounts.
Right, and generally over the short term, you aren't going to see some obvious critical change with your pet if they eat one of these foods that are higher in some of these ingredients. But where we're looking at a bigger worry is over the long haul of eating a diet that is not the best choice for that pet. And so certainly with things like excess phosphorus, excess sodium, those things can be tough on the kidneys, high protein, even that sodium relative to heart disease. That's a big thing. So I know Dr. McCauley and I both really view nutrition as the first medicine, and I think that's the best thing to keep in mind.
Yep. Be sure to keep an eye on these labels as you go through and buy a new diet that you're not familiar with. Look at the guaranteed analysis as well. It'll say things like crude protein minimum percentage or crude fat minimum percentage. That says that there is at least that much, but there may be way more. This one says that it's 17% guaranteed crude fat as a minimum, but it may be as high as 30% fat. And there aren't many dogs or cats out there that need a 30% a fat or a diet that is 30% of fat.
Right.
That's just way too much unless your dog is an extreme athlete or you're in
a sled dog.
Sled dog. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, husky up, doing the Iditarod. That's
right.
Probably the only one I could think of. And so it's really important to keep in mind that just because it's saying that this is a guaranteed analysis, that may not fit with what your pet actually needs.
Right, exactly. And then plus you can see recalls on the FDA website. And as always, if you have questions about what the best diet is for your pet, bring your veterinarian in on that conversation, because making changes in diet, if you're prone to kidney disease, can literally double life expectancy from the point of diagnosis of a kidney problem. And then also relative to obesity, if your pet is overweight, by getting that weight down into the ideal weight range, you can add 2 years of life to your pet's life. And who wouldn't want that?
Exactly. I'll see clients come in all the time with their overweight dog, and they're not happy with the fact that I'm telling them, well, your dog has pretty bad arthritis or very bad knees, and I tell them the first thing we need to do is take weight off of this obese dog, and they say, well, what else can we do? And I say, well, I can give medication to help stop arthritis or stop pain, but really until you stop the process that is causing that to happen, that too much stress and strain on those joints, medication is not going to be enough to stop that. You really need to stop the source.
Exactly. And that's interesting you mentioned that, because there have been some human studies done where they had overweight people that had arthritis, and when they lost that weight and got to a healthy weight range, even things like arthritis in their hands got better. And it was because of a reduction in overall systemic inflammatory mediators relative to getting that weight down and that healthier body weight there. So the same is true for pets too.
Yeah, it's amazing what the body can do to repair itself if we just take away all these things that are up against it. Namely obesity, improper diet, not enough exercise. And as we say, the first thing to do is make sure that the diet's correct. I tell people it's not expensive food, it's cheap medicine. I always like to treat problems with diet and with food before I throw any medications
Exactly.
at a pet.
I couldn't agree more. So get your pet's doctor involved in that discussion, and we'll continue to talk more about reading pet food labels as we go along, and help the consumer know what they're picking out for their pets. So, and if in doubt, bring your bag of food into your pet's doctor.
We'll take a look at it, and I'll walk through it with you.
Absolutely.
We try to treat all kinds of problems, talking about bringing questions to us. I know that we had some feedback from a listener.
We did. We had one of our listeners or viewers reach out to us and ask about a problem with a dog that had a spindle cell sarcoma of the nose. And this is a particular type of tumor that when caught early, again, another early detection sort of situation, if you have a lump or a bump around the nasal area, it's probably best if it's one of these to go ahead and have it removed early on. And if you miss the window where this thing is isolated and limited to a certain area, it can be one that spreads to either liver, lungs, kidneys internally, and options are much, much lower once that does happen. And so, certainly surgery is number one option on that particular type of tumor, but a secondary option is radiation therapy if you can isolate the local area where the problem is, or some chemotherapies may give some anecdotal relief, but this is a bad one to have. And in fact, when it affects the rear limbs, typically chemotherapy does not work for those patients, and so amputation, if you're going to have a hope for helping these pets, is kind of the next option. So
first step to go to. And it's important to remember, we do dispense this advice, this general advice on spindle cell sarcoma, nutrition, but the fact of the matter is you need to get a vet involved, whether it be us or whether it be your veterinarian. If Dr. Fling or I haven't... You can't do this all on
TV or on the radio. It's something where a personal relationship is really the best way to go, so you can know that pet, know their background, know their history.
Do a physical exam, just put our hands on it can tell us a lot, and knowing really what your goals of treatment are as well, because there are some different ways to approach just about every treatment, and really getting a professional involved is really important sooner than later.
And there are a lot of oncologists,
specifically
veterinary oncologists that work just in that area.
Smart people.
Exactly.
They know what they're doing.
So, well, and we've got a few pets that we're trying to figure out what to do with. We've got 3 German Shepherds in our orphanage right now.
German Shepherd Week.
It is indeed.
Several of them dropped off. I know people are probably familiar with what a German Shepherd is. It is originally a herding dog, but is one of the most common dogs used in police departments or the military these days, both for guarding bases or guarding restricted areas, sniffing out drugs or bombs. They make great pets, actually.
They're super companion dogs.
Yes, very protective of their family, but they are also very inclusive of children, people they know. They do have
very loyal.
They are very loyal. They do have a greater propensity for some health issues, just as all pure breeds do. But most of those, if you know what to look for and you know to treat it early, can be handled really well. And so we would.
And arthritis is one of those. But if you keep that weight healthy, hopefully you're okay.
So much better. Yeah, we'll put some pictures up of the 3 we have.
Absolutely.
I know one of them is a white German Shepherd.
Yeah,
which is
a white
rare.
one and 2 beautiful, I guess I'd call these more tricolor here. But if you are interested in potentially giving one of these lovely German Shepherds a home, you can call the orphanage at 214-342-3100. But we're about out of time today.
That's right. As always, we'd like to ask you to get in touch with us. Send us an email at podcast@welovepets.net if you have any questions. Another way to get in touch with us is to call our phone number, 972-808-6038, and leave us a voicemail. Of course, we always recommend that you find us on iTunes or on YouTube.
And you can also subscribe by clicking the link.
All right. Well, that's all for this week. We would thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week on East Lake Pet Talk Podcast.
Thanks so much.